biggest challenge, honestly, is just the structure. It's just you got to create structure in your day, your week, having that mental mindset.
Welcome to the Saginaw Art Museum podcast. The COVID-19 pandemic is altering the usual routines of people around the globe and around the block. As practices of social distancing and self-quarantine are implemented, artists are finding new ways to adapt to the changing landscape. In this series, Art at Home, we have conversation with artists and creative-minded individuals to understand the way these unusual times are impacting lives. Christiana Malacara spent some time in Italy this past December and has a passion for the country. We discuss the perspective the trip has on current events. She is also the owner of a paint party business, which has been impacted by the stay-at-home orders and gathering restrictions in the state of Michigan. This interview was recorded on March 25th, 2020. Well, Christiana, thank you for joining me on this conversation. As an artist in this time, during this pandemic, in the changing environment, I wanted to reach out to you and see a little bit the way that you're working. Maybe you could start by telling me what life was like before the sort of shutdown and stay-in orders here, and how things might have changed since.
Sure, sorry. Yeah, before the pandemic, I have my own paint party company, and I'm fortunate enough to have a studio space, a decent sized studio space in my home. So I would run my company. I am running my company out from my home, and in this space, I can create, I can research, I can work on social media, organize myself, and I was really using the idea of time blocking, because I also am a mom, and that takes precedence. And I also I work as a medical marketer for a physician in Freeland. So that is my, career job at the time. And with MI Creation Co., my paint party company, it was really nice, and I was utilizing the idea of time blocking, so I would be able to go to work and spend time there, and then come home and spend time in my studio, really building my company and kind of getting those creative juices moving too, coming up with new ideas as well. Prior to pandemic, I had two big blessings in my life, my mom and my dad, who are also retired and function as the caregivers to my two children during the day. And when my husband would come home from work, he would watch them at night, and we kind of tag team our schedules as far as getting studio time in, and really working on growing my company. So prior to pandemic, so 2019, beginning of 2019 is when I started working and making MI Creation Co. really take off. I have had 40 plus paint parties in 12 months, and I just don't see myself reaching that goal of exceeding that for 2020.
How, for somebody that doesn't understand what a paint party is, can you just describe that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So a paint party is basically, some people call it a wine and canvas, or, something along those lines. But it's basically an instructor, which would be me or one of the instructors that I have on the team, teach you step-by-step painting done on canvas with acrylic paint. And at the end, everyone will have a finished, complete painting that hopefully everyone is happy with. And that's the goal. That's really the goal of creating the company, was, you can be with friends or family or, your favorite people, and have just a really great experience with painting, and, having an instructor there that knows, how to not just paint, because, some artists just can paint, but it's different when an artist can paint and then teach that skill. So, yeah, they're really great. Most of the time, there's a lot of wine involved.
Well, it sounds like you had a good degree of structure coming into this current circumstances, and
Sure.
Some of that has translated over. What do you think the biggest challenge right now is, being an entrepreneur and a mom and an artist, and having a career outside of your art? Where are you finding you're able to rebalance things?
Yeah, biggest challenge, honestly, is just the structure. It's just you got to create structure in your day, your week. Having that mental mindset also helps. That, hey, I'm not losing control. Because for artists, creating artwork is an outlet. And I know that there was a time in my life where I didn't create work for 3 months because it was wintertime. My studio was 10 miles away and I was super pregnant. And by the end of those 3 months, I'm stuck in my head going stir crazy, kind of like how we physically are by staying stuck in our homes. So, it's definitely shifted. The time blocking, time management has shifted since the pandemic. I don't have my parents here to watch the kids. My career job, I am blessed to be able to work from home, so that's taking precedence. And by the time, I'm thinking about, okay, well, what can I do for my company? What can I do for myself? You're kind of mentally drained. So, you want to create work. You need to create work, but you're not there.
Now, along with the stay-home order, I mean, people aren't gathering, and that's sort of what your business model depends on. How are you able to manage some of those postponements or cancellations? Did you have a lot on the books that's sort of still up in the air? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure, that's a fair question. So for March, I had a paint party at the beginning of the month, which was still safe. Since this kind of stay-at-home order, I had postponed all the paint parties for March and the first week in May, which it does hurt. Like I said, I'm fortunate this isn't my only income, because I know a lot of artists, this is creating artwork is their only income. But, it hurts me more the fact that there's other small businesses out there hurting more. Mm-hmm. And, yes, these people that I had to call and say, I don't think it's safe, can we postpone this to another day? And, they were totally understanding. Everybody's on the same page, which is really great as far as staying safe. But they're kind of bummed out, they're not going to be able to celebrate their birthdays with a paint party or their bachelorette party with a paint party. And basically, I kind of just say that celebrating togetherness, because that's really what this is all about for me, what my company is all about. It's, just being able to enjoy and share and encourage, the people that you love most.
Just sort of shifting gears a little bit, you had visited Italy relatively recently, if I remember right. Was that December?
Yep, most of December we were in Italy.
Yeah. So, as this crisis has unfolded and you're seeing some of the reports out of Italy, how does that resonate with you?
It's heavy. It's really heavy. My husband and I went to Italy. We were there for about 3 weeks, and it was the most amazing time. We were in Florence. We were in Rome. We were, in Venice. We went up to Slovenia. Like, we had the time of our life, and we actually made connections with people in Italy that we contact through Facebook. I have friends in Italy now. I actually have a family member that lives in Italy, and in contact with them, every other day, getting their updates, and then watching the U.S. kind of fall into those same footsteps is heartbreaking. Just recently, I saw a picture in St. Mark's Square, and I went through my phone and I was like, look at, that's me standing there with crowds and dozens of people swarming behind me. And then I refer back to the picture that I saw online, and it's one waiter with empty tables, sobbing. They're definitely going through what nobody could predict, and it's heart-wrenching. It's really sad. And I guess going back to that kind of small business perspective, which I'm constantly thinking of, and even more so we're all reminded of, is when I was in Italy, everything was a small business. Every restaurant, every little gallery, you'd buy a leather belt from a man who made it with his grandpa. You'd buy a meal, and we were in Rome, and we bought a meal from the third generation of this restaurant. Everyone was a small business.
Well, it is incredible, sort of the way that things have turned just recently, and as this whole thing plays out in everybody's lives. I'm a little curious, sort of just in closing, to see what you're looking forward to doing most once there's return to a little bit of normalcy, if we can call it that, after all this is done.
I'm utilizing my time now by doing research on what artists are working on, and I think that's gonna all it's doing is it's pushing momentum towards me. I'm just getting more excited and a little more anxious to when this kind of all comes to an end-ish, and when that timeline is going to kind of wrap up. So, like I said, I'm just, currently I'm just doing research. I'm looking at what other artists are doing, what materials they're using. And so when this all ends, and hopefully it'll be midsummer, I just look forward to reaching out to more people, going around to those small businesses. And, I kind of just made a goal in my books recently was, reaching out to those small businesses that have suffered locally in Saginaw and saying, you know what, hey, let's do a paint party. You make some subs and I'll do a paint party, and we'll just split 50-50. And, going to these places and saying, how can I help you by creating, a crowd, basically? How can we get more people out and get them just happy and cheerful and, ready to be in each other's company? Because I'm sure a lot of us are ready to be in each other's company again.
Thank you for listening to the Saginaw Art Museum podcast. You can stay connected with the museum through our website and social media channels. We invite you to become a subscriber of this podcast or become a monthly contributor to the show to help us carry out our mission of providing art for all.